Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. Today I want to share with you one of the most powerful one-bar basic builds and video guides for you, the Specter, a Stamina Nightblade build for the Elder Scrolls Online Update 29 Flames of Ambition. This video is going to teach you the basic fundamentals of the Stamina Nightblade and how to be successful with only one bar. We will cover passives and active skills, gear, champion points, rotation, and priorities, and what makes the Stamina Nightblade unique among other classes in the Elder Scrolls Online. During a recent Twitch live stream, I soloed a veteran dungeon, completed veteran Maelstrom Arena with no deaths, and Vatashram Hollows with one bar using this setup. The full build will be out later, but this is a great starting point for new or returning players, and I'll give you a couple of gear options so you can progress over time. Timestamps are below if you wish to skip ahead to important parts, as well as other important links, including the written build. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, turn alerts on, and thanks for watching. Alright, what makes the Stamina Nightblade unique among other classes? The most obvious thing is really the mechanism to stealth. So Nightblade comes with the Shadow skill line, Shadow Cloak, right off the bat. And what this allows you to do is go invisible. The premise of a Nightblade, as you know, is playing a rogue, sneaky, running around, pie burst. That's the sort of playstyle we're going for with the Stamina Nightblade. The Cloak is very strong in questing, kind of messing around in PvE, not very good at endgame or high level content. It also is very handy in PvE, but something we really can't fit on our bar in a one bar build. So we're going to switch gears and talk about healing, which was a major problem for the Stamina Nightblade, but after a very long time, you have many tools at your disposal to do awesome healing. So the first skill you're going to get on your bar is from the world skill line, Soul Magic. Soul Trap is the unmorphed version. You're going to put this on your bar right away and you're going to morph it to Consuming Trap. What this will allow you to do, use magic, do physical damage over time, and if the mob is destroyed during that time, you're going to get back health and stamina. Fantastic ability right out the gates, and we have some use immediately when we start this character. The Assassin's ability you're going to start with is Assassin's Blade. You're going to put that on your bar along with the Consuming Trap ability, and it's going to morph very quickly into Killer's Blade, turning it into not only a disease-dealing damage stamina ability, but also heals you if the target dies within 2 seconds of use. You're going to use this one a mob or something's below about 25% health because it's going to ramp up the damage significantly, and most likely you're going to use one or two of these abilities. It's going to die and give you back a massive amount of heal. Why this is useful is because you can play aggressive pretty much the entire game with this ability on your bar until you get to end game and have other tools to heal. Let's stick in the Assassin's ability skill line. In the last ability, Grim Focus, you can take it and morph it to Relentless Focus. It's going to convert it into a stamina based ability again that deals disease damage, increases the duration, but if you're in melee range and you fire off this proc at 5 light or heavy attacks, it's going to heal you for a significant amount of the damage dealt, making it another tool that not only deals damage, but heals you for playing aggressive. And we'll switch gears to the Shadow skill line, and this, we talked about the Cloak earlier. They changed one of the morphs, Dark Cloak, to no longer grant you invisibility, but heal you based on your max health and grants Mitre Protection. So another tool you can use if you don't want to play stealthy and have some heals, and it costs magic. One of the strongest heals that we have as a Stamina Nightblade is actually an ultimate called Soul Tether. That comes from the Siphoning skill line. It's the Soul Shred, it's the Morph Soul Tether. It's going to heal you for a massive amount, stun mobs in an AoE circle. So when you're starting this out, if you're struggling, this is the first ultimate I would get because it has incredible healing. You get it right away. You could solo world bosses, dungeons, dolmens, all sorts of things just using this ability. And of course, we have outside skill lines as well to heal us. Alliance War is the most popular and useful one. Vigor. There's two different morphs of it. Echoing Vigor is really useful for PvE, where you don't need a lot of burst healing, but you need really slow healing over time, over 10 seconds. The next morph of it is Resolving Vigor. This is the more bursty heal over 4 seconds, so it's just a faster heal, really ideal in PvP. So you're going to work on getting that PvP skill line leveled up just by doing Battlegrounds or Cyrodiil. I would recommend no champion points and or on a lobby queuing up for Battlegrounds to get this skill line leveled up to get that right away. Next up is Resource Sustain, and Stamina Nightblade isn't perfect, but it's came a long way and has some other tools to basically restore resources and sustain the fight. The first one we're going to talk about is in the Assassination skill line. It's the ultimate. Deathstroke, you're going to take it and morph it into incapacitating strikes. Again, it's going to change it from a magic-based ability to dealing disease damage, kind of preferencing stamina users. Now, the trick is, while it's slotted, your light and heavy attacks restore resource if the enemy has a negative effect on them. So if you're casting a damage over time, and which is probably something you're going to be doing at endgame, this is going to give you back resources. It's going to reward you, and the Stamina Nightblade and Elder Scrolls Online in general is going to reward you for light heavy attack weaving. It's something you're going to want to do, not only to resource sustain, but it adds a lot of damage. So focus on that as a priority as you progress with this. Sticking in that Assassin's skill line, there's a passive here, Executioner. You get at stage 2, when an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being damaged by you, restore 1,000 magicka and stamina. This is fantastic. So not only if you have Killer's Blade on, you're going to get back health, you're going to get back resources. You throw a Consuming Trap on that mob too, you're going to have a flood of resources and healing. Fantastic combination. The Shadow skill line also has a really handy passive called Refreshing Shadows, increasing your health, stamina, and magic recovery by 15%. This is an obvious statement, but it needs to be said. Elder Scrolls Online, the way you get powerful isn't your active skill lines, it's the passives. You can only have so many active skills on your bar. Makes sense, right? But you can have unlimited passives. So that's what you're going to focus on as you progress, because these are going to give you a lot of benefit and it doesn't require a bar slot. Refreshing Shadows is one that's very useful. An active skill that's very, very strong in resource sustain comes from the Siphoning skill line. Siphoning Strikes, you take it and you morph it to Leeching Strikes. Leeching Strikes converts it to a stamina ability that restores light and heavy attacks will restore stamina. And when an effect ends, it will give you a flood of resource sustain as well. So you'll notice you combine Leeching Strikes here, an active ability, with the ultimate incapacitating strikes, you're going to get double dipping positive effect for light and heavy attack weaving. So you got to focus on this as you progress. It's going to add damage, and it's your go-to tool for sustaining a Stamina Nightblade. We already talked about this skill, briefly touched about it, but World, Soul Magic, Consuming Trap, place it on a mob, magic, deals physical damage, they die, you get back health and stamina. Great, great tool. And then also, if you're not aware, two-hander, if you have the passive called Battle Rush, maxed out, increases your stamina recovery by 30% for 10 seconds after killing a target with a two-hander equipped. And there's some other resource sustaining tools as well, but these are the really important ones you want to focus on getting and learning. The last thing up that we'll talk about that makes the Nightblade unique is really the playstyle. It's came a very, very long way, and I have to get ZeniMax Online Studios combat team a huge shout out and credit, because finally in Elder Scrolls Online, you're rewarded for playing like a rogue, meaning attacking from the flank, attacking from behind, being super aggressive, making it one of the most fun playstyles and why it's so popular to play. So Deltia, what has changed? First thing, Assassin's skill line, the Master Assassin passive, increasing your physical and spell penetration against enemies you are flanking by a massive amount, increases the duration of stun from sneak by a certain amount. So flanking, basically the flank is the side or behind, giving you offensive penetration for playing like a rogue. Huge change. Another change, I don't know how recent this was, but my favorite probably melee ability, stamina based in the game, Surprise Attack. You slash an enemy, deal physical damage, applying the Sundering status effect. What was added was attacking with Surprise Attack from the flank stuns the enemy and sets them off balance. This is incredible, and it's so much fun as your main spammable. A really cool combination you can use in PvP is put Surprise Attack on your bar and then Shadowy Disguise. That's going to be the cloak that does grant you invisibility, and it gives you a critical, So you're going to go cloak, you're going to pull it behind someone, and you're going to surprise attack. It's going to stun them, set them off balance, and it's just going to hit super hard with a critical. Really juicy, fun combination for PvP. Now, if you wanted to take it a step further, the Fighter's Guild actually has an ability that almost everyone should be using or can use. That's called Camouflage Hunter. The third ability down is called Expert Hunter. You take it and you morph it. Camo Hunter, while slotted, gives you major savagery, increasing your crit. But most importantly, if you crit something while attacking from the flank, it's going to give you minor berserk for 5 seconds when it's maxed out, increasing your crit damage done by 5%. That's just for slotting it. So it rewards you basically for something you're already doing, and it gives you a buff for slotting it. Moreover, you'll look at the Banish the Wicked passive as well as on the Fighter's Guild. You generate 3 ultimate whenever you kill an enemy. I can't fit this on my bar in a 1-bar build, but the endgame build, it's an absolute game changer. Super fun, makes your build much simpler and rewarding for hitting from the side or the back. Love this playstyle. Okay, let's talk about the leveling process, what you need to be focused on to reach endgame with this. So the Stamina Nightblade uniquely has all the stamina-based weapon skill lines, and it plays them all very, very well. Two-handed, sword and shield, dual-wield bow. Almost every single one has a use in both PvE and PvP. I've seen different people play them and do fantastic. Me personally, I prefer dual wield. I like the active abilities, I like the passives, and I like the 2 daggers. I like the look of it. I think it's fantastic. And bow. Bow is probably going to be your go-to back bar in PvE and PvP in almost every build. Some folks use sword and shield. That's a little bit advanced. So what I would recommend is making a decision. Stick with either dual wield or two-handed to start. Both have really, really good abilities and options. I'm going to stick with dual wield for me, and then I'm going to switch to bow later on. So what I do is, when I'm leveling, my skills that I want to focus on, I want to have 1 Assassin's ability, 1 Shadow ability, 1 Siphoning ability on my bar at all times. That way, through the entire leveling process, I'm earning experience and leveling up these, and I'm swapping in and out the abilities to get them morphed. That way, I hit endgame, I'm able to get all the passives, I'm able to have all my skills unlocked, morphed, ranked up, and it's much, much easier than going back after you hit level 50 and doing it all over. Because the worst thing is, you hit level 50, you don't have enough skill points, your skills aren't morphed, you don't have the passives, it's not a whole lot of fun. So take your time, put 3 abilities on there. Next thing you're going to do is put 1 ability, Soul Magic. You're going to morph that to Consuming Trap. So that's going to take up 4 bar slots. Then I would pick up a dual wield ability, throw it on there. I probably wouldn't even use it. I'd use Surprise Attack pretty much as my main spam mode the entire game, but you want to level the skill line. Then you're going to get an ultimate at around skill line level 12. You're going to pick from either Incap Strike in the Assassin, or if you need healing, you want to go with Soul Tether from Siphoning. That's what that's going to allow you to do, is drop an ability from either of those skill lines and then pick up an outside weapon. So what I would go with is bow. You're going to put it on your bar. It's not even going to be able to be used on your front bar, but all of your experience is pretty much going to come from your front bar while you're killing stuff the entire game. So that's going to allow you, which seems odd, to level dual wield and bow, or whatever you choose, thus reaching endgame, having it maxed out or close to, having those skills leveled up and morph, making it so much smoother. Now we're going to talk about armor. The armor choices are pretty obvious. Medium armor is your go-to, so you're going to have at least 5 on your bar. Another thing you can do is put 3 or more light on, 3 or more heavy on real quick. That's going to unlock the skill line, and what I would recommend doing is going to a vendor at the very start of the game. They're in every single major town. If you're brand new to this game watching this, you can buy 5 white medium armor, put on 1 light, 1 heavy. That way, again, you're earning experience throughout the entire leveling process. So let's say you switch to tank, or let's say you want to play PvP with a heavy armor build instead of medium. You don't have to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours grinding up heavy armor. Trust me, I've been through this. It's going to save you a ton of time. 5-1-1. So you hit level 50, you want to make sure not only your Nightblade class skill lines are leveled up, they're morphed, you have all the passes and the skill points to do that. You're going to make sure the weapon skill lines are also leveled up, morphed, maxed out, you have them. The things you're going to want to focus on priority-wise after this is done is Fighter's Guild. You want to get this maxed out, you want to get the ultimate, it's very handy in PvP and PvE. Another one you probably are going to want to do is Undaunted, so you're going to need to do some dungeons and pledges and so on. Alliance War as well, Assault skill line, has Razor Caltrops in it, fantastic, and then also the heal. Don't forget about Alchemy. The medicinal use passive is going to increase potion effects. This is very handy in PvP and PvE. So if this is your main character, I'd recommend taking the time to level this up, getting that maxed out, because it's going to make a big difference at endgame. Okay, so we now know what we're doing at endgame. Let's talk about the skills, what I'm using, and why I selected this. The first ability up, I feel, is just kind of a mandatory slot. It makes the playstyle of the Nightblade so much fun, and that's Relentless Focus from the Assassin skill line. Before we even talk about the ability, let's think about what it does just by putting it on our bar. Pressure Points 2. This is a passive. Increase your weapon and spell critical rating for each Assassin ability slotted. So just having our bar is going to increase our crit. Great. Then we go down one, Hemorrhage 2. With an Assassin ability slotted, increase your crit damage by 10%. Dealing critical damage grants you and your group minor savagery. Again, more weapon critical. For having this slotted, one Assassin's ability, one. Huge advantage. This is my go-to because I'm going to be rewarded for light and heavy attacking. It's going to give me a burst, ranged, firing off shot that I can use, a very long duration of 60 seconds, and it's going to heal me if I'm in melee range. It is too fantastic and so much fun. It's going to reward you for light and heavy attacking and going to make you focus on that priority, which will help improve your skill drastically in the endgame. Next up, you have two options. One is a resource sustaining tool. I've talked about it quite a bit, Soul Magic. Consuming Trap. We're going to use this primarily when there's AoE fights, meaning there's multiple mobs. When I did Vatashram Hollows, there is some times where there's basically one single target fight. That's what I would run in Leeching Strikes from the Siphoning ability. Leeching Strikes there, I would swap it in and out. But in general, Consuming Trap is going to add damage. It's going to restore resources and health. And it's going to be a magic dump. So if we have a bunch of magic, but we're kind of low on stamina, we're just going to tag a whole bunch of mobs with it and then start killing them with heavy attacks and getting back up to full. Now we need a heal, so let's go to Assault, Alliance War Assault, and we're going to go with Vigor. If you're doing this PvP, you're probably going to want Resolving Vigor, but this is primarily for questing and PvE, so I'm going to go with Echoing Vigor. That's going to give us a nice heal over time. Very useful. Then what's a Nightblade stamina without Surprise Attack from the Shadow skill line? It's fantastic. You're going to want to convert it to a stamina-based ability with this morph. You're going to attack from the side and the rear, along with Light Attack weaving in between. Another advantage of having this on our bar, Shadow Barrier, which is a passive in the Shadow skill line. Casting the Shadow ability, hence Surprise Attack, is going to give us major resolve for 6 seconds, making us more tanky. So that is fantastic just for having that on our bar. Another thing it's going to give you is increasing your max health by 3% for each ability slotted. So another passive for just having it on our bar. You can see why that's so important. Another reason I go with Dual Wield is really for the third ability in the class kit. It's called Whirlwind. The morph I go with is Whirling Blades. It's an AoE damage tool in a 6 meter radius, but it also acts as an execute. It's fantastic because you're able to have great single target damage and a tool for AoE damage as well. If you lack healing and you just want single target, you could always go with Killer's Blade and Assassin skill line, but you need something to AoE mow down mobs and enemies, and this is the best tool I've found. If you like the two-handed skill line and you like that playstyle better, what you could do, and another popular choice, is the third ability down, Cleave. You're going to take that and morph it into Brawler. Brawler is a conal in front of you, but it also gives you a nice damage shield. So some folks really like that if they struggle with survivability, but for me, Dual Wield, those two daggers, Khajiit Nightblade, it just looks too cool and functions too well. So that leaves us with the ultimate, and something that I don't see a lot of people running, and it's just an absolute game changer for survivability. This is not the most damage producing ability. It's called Rend. It's a dual-wield ultimate. It's a morph of Lacerate. What it's going to do is slash enemies in front of you, causing them to bleed over 16 seconds. It's a very long damage over time. Meteor is going to outperform Ren in damage. Flawless Dawnbreaker is going to outperform Ren in damage. Incap is another good ultimate, but it's not going to have a huge damage over time effect. The reason I like this, 16 seconds, AoE dot that heals you for 50% of the damage done, and it only costs 150 ultimate. Essentially, it's a very, very powerful heal with a decent amount of damage, and it lasts a very long time. With 16-second duration, I can get very aggressive and not have to worry so much about healing. So it's a fantastic ability to start off with if you need some survival. And that's the bar. And so how I use it, talking about rotation, this is very simple. And what you would do with a 2-bar build is just kind of add some buffs and ground effects. So what you're going to do is primarily keep up your relentless focus. It's 60 seconds, so you're not going to have to cast this over and over and over. You're going to light attack weave, and when the thing lights up, your bar changes color and appearance, you're going to fire it off and try to close the distance if you're at range, because you want that healing to proc. The next thing up is Consuming Trap. You're going to place this on, generally speaking, the lowest HP mob that you're fighting, 1 or more. You can tag multiple mobs, including the boss. The damage over time is nice, so it is a decent amount of damage over time. Not something you're really going to focus on endgame, but it can ramp up. So even in single target fights, it might be worth using. Plus, we don't have a lot of magic skills on our bar. In fact, this is the only one. So feel free to use this if you're getting low on juice and you still need to push the damage. Then, as your health dips below 80, 75%, you're going to keep up Echoing Vigor. There's really not a point to spam cast this over and over because it's going to heal you slowly over time. So I would not recommend spam casting this if you're in trouble. What I would recommend is dodging, using an ultimate, or using a potion. Let the heal over time do its job. Also playing aggressive. If Consuming Trap is on a mob, kill it. It's going to give you back a lot of resources. If it's lit up blue, you know it has Consuming Trap, nuke it. Let Echoing Vigor do its job. A couple of dodge rolls, a potion, you can get through it. Surprise attacks can be remain spammable, but what you're going to want to do is light attack in between. Obviously, it's going to be very rewarding. So light attack ability. I have a separate video on this if you want to watch on how to light attack weave. And then Whirling Blades. Generally speaking, I switch from Surprise Attack to Whirling Blades, even on a single target, around 35% health. It seems to hit a little bit hard around 35% health, assuming I can't get from the back of it. So Surprise Attack around till about 35% health. Then I switch to Light Attack, Weaving, Whirling Blades. Rend, it's a no-brainer. You're just going to use it. You're going to try to tag the boss. So the conal is a bit deceptive in where it actually hits. It's 8 by 8 meters. So if you can get all the mobs and the boss included, you're pretty much not going to die. But there's a slight cast time, so don't get caught in the animation dying. Use it a little preemptively for 6 seconds burst heal. And this is how you use this build. Okay, what gear do I use? I'm going to give you 2 loadouts, and my written guide has the advanced setups, all the different setups, including group, if you want to check that out. What I use to solo the vet dungeon is something that almost everyone can get a hold of in the game. The primary 5-piece is a craftable set. You're going to run medium, 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light, and with the Adana passives maxed out to get tons of resources. Hunding's Rage is our main 5-piece. It's very simple. It's going to give us a lot of crit, and it's going to give us weapon damage, something we need. It's very accessible and it works very well. You're going to run all Divine's traits, all stamina glyphs, assuming you don't have too low HP. With your food, you should be right around 24k health or above is what you're aiming for. And then stamina, whatever it gets to is whatever it gets to. At least 24k health if you're a new player. Then you're going to run a monster helm. I'd recommend running the head and heavy, the shoulders and light. You can choose whatever you want to do. Crags looks like it's getting buffed, so that's what I'm going to kind of use a lot of the time. Crags is a good one. Salines is also a good one as well. It's pretty bursty. It's great in PvP as well. But what I'm going with primarily is Crags and PvE because of the 1-piece, and the 2-piece is going to be buffed hopefully next patch. Now you're going to go with the weapons. agility. It's quite easy to get a hold of this in today's game. It's going to give you a good 2-piece with some max stats, increasing your damage. Very easy to get a hold of and or buy in the traders. And then an underrated set, Vengeance Leech. It's a PvP set. You can buy it or buy the bags in PvP area. And it's basically what it's going to do is kind of like a consuming trap. It's going to give you back all of resources, and it does not have a cooldown. So it's fantastic for survivability if you don't have the advanced gear setup. I'd recommend taking this, all weapon damage glyphs, and using poisons on your weapons, daggers. My website has the chart if you want to look at that. So what do you do? What is the next step to progress? This is what I use as solo endgame and allows me to just do disgusting, crazy content solo. The main thing you're going to need to get is the Pale Order. The Pale Order is a ring, and what it does is it's a mythic. 1 piece, super strong. You can only run 1 mythic. It's getting buffed next patch. Regardless if you don't like it or not, it's too fantastic not to use in a solo instance. The more damage you do, the more it's going to heal you, making it just incredibly strong. You're going to pair this with a 5-piece Briar Heart, 3 pieces on your body, 2 pieces on your weapon, and what that's going to do is also proc when you're doing crit damage and give you even more healing. Great benefit for also damage and healing, making you very strong. Another 5-piece is Vicious Ophidian, so that's a trial set, and you can get that. And what it's going to do is kill mobs. It's going to give you back resources and speed, making this really easy to do the content. Again, if you don't have this stuff, pick up some of the earlier gear sets that you could get and run that until you get this. That leaves 1 slot, which is our Monster Helm. What I'd run is Crags. It's a good physical pen. 1 piece, going to add a lot of damage. So retrait the jewelry to Bloodthirsty. It's going to add crazy amounts of damage, put weapon damage enchants on them. It's going to be very helpful for you. Divines traits on all the armor, stamina glyphs, running poisons. Now let's go ahead and talk about the champion points. I'm going to cover it briefly. Look at my website for more details. In the finesse tree, we're going to go Rejuvenation, Ironclad, Boundless Vitality, and Bloody Renewal. In the warfare tree, I'm going to go Fighting Finesse, Deadly Aim, Thaumaturge, Biting Aura. In the craft tree, I'm going to go Treasure Hunter, Steed's Blessing, Rationer, and Liquid Efficiency. Consumables are next, and depending on your champion point loadout, your race, and so on, I would go with buy stat food. I have pretty good sustain with this running a Khajiit Nightblade, so I would recommend that. There's a bunch of different options in food if you struggle with sustain. However, they're probably going to lower either your damage or your health. Potions, I run weapon power, weapon crit, and stamina. That's kind of expensive. You don't have to run that if you're not doing, top end content, but I'd also carry some tripods on me. You can get some of the stuff from PvP and the vendors sell them. You can buy them on the traders or you can craft them yourself. Poisons, I would go with damage health. Very simple ones. You can go with more fancy ones, but this is going to do a lot more damage than our enchant, so I stick with that. Mundus Stones that I go with. Shadow for damage, top priority. Thief is also very good for high crit. And third is the Warrior if you PvP a lot and don't want to switch back and forth. Racial choices, I don't know what does the most damage, but I can tell you what looks so cool and is most fun. That's Khajiit. It has to be the #1 go-to. If you haven't played a Khajiit Nightblade, something's wrong with you. You got to pick it up. It looks so cool. It's so much fun. I don't know if it does the most damage, but dang it, it's so much fun to play. #2, I love Orc. If you're playing PvP and you don't plan on playing stealthy, you're kind of up in the action and want to be just beating people's faces off. Wood Elf is also really good. Tons of survivability and resources staying super slippery. And Dumber is a great choice if you want to bounce between stamina and magicka and PvE. Doesn't have the resource sustain, but it's going to give you weapon and spell damage. It's also going to give you both max stats, magicka and stamina. Good all around if you want to switch. And gang, that's a video. I went a deep dive, gave you tons of tools on this. This is the one I spent the most amount of time on. I really hope you appreciated this information because the Stam Nightblade is one of the funnest ways to play, and it's probably one of the most popular things out there besides Magic's Swork because it just looks cool. It's a rogue. It hits so hard, and now the playstyle is rewarding for playing like a rogue. So use this as a building block. Take it, change it based on your playstyle. Hey, you don't want resource sustain, but maybe you want to cloak around and nuke people with with surprise attack? Great. Take something off your bar, throw it on there, change up the gear sets. Make it your own. This is what works for me, but most important, it's about what works for you. Thanks for watching.